Hi everyone, it's Michelle here. Welcome back to Grounded Haven Homestead. Today I have a few things on my to-do list. I'm going to be sowing some things both outdoors and indoors. So the first thing I'm going to be tackling are direct sowing some poppies, which is super simple. I have two varieties. The first one is this frosted salmon poppy that's really fluffy and beautiful. This is going to be my first time trying to grow this. And then the second one is a blue bread seed poppy. These are seeds that I saved last year from poppies that I grew. Once you grow poppies one time, you should be able to save plenty of seeds, especially these bread seed varieties, because obviously they are varieties that are grown for those seeds because they produce a lot of them and they have good flavor. I'm really excited to grow more of these bread seed poppies because I was able to harvest some of them last year and I had only a little bit to bake with, but I want to grow lots of these so that I have plenty of poppy seeds to bake with because I think that would be really fun. Then for the things I'm going to start indoors, first I have one vegetable. I have some bok choy. I'm going to be starting plenty of this. And then I have some flowers I'm going to be starting. I have two varieties of gomphrena. I have this purple and white mix, and then this is a red mix that I grew last year called Strawberry Fields. And then I have one flower that's new for me. This is penstemon, and I'm really excited to try this. It says it's very drought tolerant once established, excellent rock garden plant, and it's perennial in zones 4 through 8. And on the front of this packet it says that it blooms spring to summer and it gets only 12 inches tall. Sorry if you can hear my cat, she's going crazy in the background. But anyway, I think that these flowers would be nice to have in our front yard garden. I like all these things about it, that it's short, that it's perennial, and it's drought tolerant, because that makes it super low maintenance for me. Junie, stop. Because we already have so much to take care of between our vegetable garden and also our cut flower garden that I just don't want to have more things to maintain in our front yard as well. I just want like very low maintenance landscaping plants. So I'm really excited to try these out. So first things first, let's go outside and I'm going to work on sowing those poppies. Before I go sow these poppies, I'm gonna bring some treats over to the chickens. I made these crackers yesterday and the first few batches of them turned out really good, but the third one I burnt a little bit, so I'm gonna see if they want to eat these. And I also have a banana peel for them, which surprisingly they really like to eat. I know some people say their chickens only like the insides of the bananas and not the peels, but they seem to enjoy these. But really, carbs are their favorite, so let's see if they like these burnt crackers. Okay, so now I'm gonna walk over to the cut flower garden and see if I can find a spot to direct sow some of these poppies. So I've been taking time these last couple of weeks whenever the weather's nice to start cleaning up the garden. This is how it looks right now. So you can see it's not completely cleaned up at the moment. I still have some things I need to cut down, and eventually I'm gonna have to come in and amend the soil a little bit and also clean up my netting and redo my stakes this year, because last year my stakes were not very sturdy, and I think I'm gonna do T-post stakes this year. These wooden ones were really flimsy and they would just break really easily, so I'm hoping to improve on that this year. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. It was actually really nice that I didn't clean anything up in the fall because it keeps the soil covered and protected from any erosion or from a lot of weed seeds from getting in. And I think maybe I'll just go ahead and sow my poppies in this front area here because it's cleared out and the soil looks pretty nice and easy to work in. Actually, I think I direct sowed some poppies in the fall as well, because you can either direct sow them in the fall or late winter, early spring, which is what I'm doing today. So let me see how those are doing. Okay, so I found some poppies. This is a weed, this is chickweed, but these here are some of my poppies. I think I did the bread seed poppies back here. So here are a couple, and there are a couple here as well, and some more small ones here. They look really tiny. They don't look like they're gonna do anything. But when I did this the previous fall, They stayed really small like this, and then once it starts to warm up in the spring, they grow really quickly and get really tall. So I think these will be fine. There are not as many plants as I was hoping for, so maybe I'll just go ahead and add more seeds in this area just to make it a nice thick patch. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and add some more blue breadseed poppies here. Sowing these poppy seeds is so simple. All you have to do is scatter the seeds on the surface of the soil. You don't want to cover them because they do need light to germinate. So I'm just gonna go in and spread it on top. Poppies do need a period of cold stratification, which is why you want to do this either in the late winter or very early spring, or you can do it in the fall, like you can see I've done with these ones that are already existing here. Either time is perfectly fine. And it's actually really beautiful today. It's 65 and sunny, but we do have a few days of like drizzling rain coming up, which is going to help these seeds kind of stay in place. I wouldn't do this before like a huge rainstorm because those seeds can wash away, but a nice drizzle will be perfect to get these seeds all settled in. So that's all there is to it. Let's hope that these guys grow, and poppies bloom in the spring and early summer, so they're one of the first flowers to open up, and I'm really excited. I hope that these guys do well. After I scattered those blue poppies at the back part of the garden, I went back to the front that I showed you earlier, and that's where I'm going to seed the really fluffy pink poppies. I have this vining weed in this area that's really annoying to get rid of because it puts roots down everywhere that it vines, and I'm just doing my best to try and get rid of some of it, but I'm hoping that since the poppies do grow in the very early part of the season, they'll help to kind of smother those weeds out rather than planting something that grows mostly in the summer, because by then these weeds will definitely have taken over. And I know it would probably be best to go in and completely remove these weeds and prep the soil a little more thoroughly, but I kind of just wanted to get this done quickly today because it's not often that we get beautiful weather like this in February, and I wanted to get this done before we get a lot of cold weather and rain again. I'm just doing the same exact process, just scattering it over the surface of the soil. That's it. It's a really simple process. I'm going to start my other seeds now, and since it's so nice out today, I'm going to be doing it outside. It's always nice when I can do it outdoors to contain some of the mess and not have to bring soil indoors. So I've got some normal potting soil here. Just going to try and take out any big pieces of wood that are in here. And then I'm going to be adding perlite to this to add a little bit more fluffiness. This also helps with drainage, just to make it a little bit closer to the composition of a seed starting mix. I would have used seed starting mix, but they didn't have any at the store. But this looks like a pretty nice potting soil. I think it will be okay. So that's looking nice and fluffy already. Okay, now just a little bit of water because it's not quite holding together yet. So that's looking good. I'm gonna fill up my tray here. I have this one tray, which I think will be enough for everything that I'm planting today. This is a 72 cell tray. I just got this tray at Lowe's, I think. So it was pretty cheap and accessible. The only thing is the plastic is pretty flimsy. But I do like the shape of these. You can tell they're kind of hexagonal, and I feel like the shape of them, the roots grow down really well. So even though it's kind of flimsy plastic, I do like these trays. There are 72 cells in here, 36 for each of these halves, and I'm gonna do an entire half of this tray with the bok choy because I want a lot of those, and then I'll have to split my flowers evenly on the other side. So I think I'll have 2 rows of each of the flowers I'm doing. I was originally going to soil block at least one of these so that I could have a lot more, because in the same amount of space as half of these I could start at least like 40 seedlings, but I'm still learning with those, and my last soil blocks haven't germinated yet, and I think it's normal because I think the seeds I planted last time, the snapdragons and status, they do take a little bit longer to germinate, but just in case I did something wrong, I'm starting these in flats instead. I'm just a little bit more comfortable and experienced with doing it this way, and I don't want to be starting everything in soil blocks if it's not going to go well. So I just needed to mix up a little bit more soil and add perlite to that one as well. This is a little bit of like a cheat way that I've been doing seed starting mix. If I wanted to do it completely from scratch and do it a little bit more officially, I would do 1 part peat moss or coco coir, 1 part perlite, and 1 part compost. But I don't have compost right now, so I'm just using the mix of the potting soil and the perlite, and I think it will turn out okay. Now I'm going to go in and just lightly press everything in to make sure that there are no big air pockets, but I don't want to pack anything too tightly either. Okay, so now it's time to plant the seeds. I'm going to start with the bok choy. And I'm gonna do a whole half with this bok choy. And I'm going to aim for 2 to 3 seeds per cell. Normally I would write my tags first, but I forgot to do that, so I'm gonna have to go in later and add those. But luckily, if I forget where anything is, I can always rewind my footage and see where I planted everything. These are the instructions for the gomphrena. So 6 to 8 weeks before last frost. Direct seeding not recommended. And I'm starting with the strawberry fields gomphrena. Apparently I didn't have that many seeds left, so I think I'm just going to end up doing 1 row of these. The seeds are really interesting looking. They kind of have like a little bit of a fluff on the end of them. And I'll just do 2 seeds per cell. Oh, perfect. I have the exact amount to do the 1 row with 2 seeds each. So since I only have enough for 1 row of those, I'm going to do maybe 2 rows of this gomphrena and then 3 rows of penstemon. I do really want a lot of those penstemon plants. Here's what the back of this gomphrena packet says. And the strawberry fields one, I think gets about like 3 feet tall. And this purple and white one only gets about 2 feet tall, if not shorter. So my idea for these is that the strawberry fields ones I'm going to plant in my cut flower garden, just like I did last year. And for the purple and white ones, I'm going to use them as a bedding plant in our front yard landscape. I really like gomphrena because it is very drought tolerant. So once it's established, you don't need to worry about watering it, which, like I said, is perfect for our front garden, because then you just don't have to do much to maintain it, which is always a bonus. Okay, I accidentally went too far. I forgot I was only going to do 2 rows. So I have 1 extra cell of the gomphrena, but that'll be okay. So next is the penstemon. Start inside 6 to 8 weeks before your average last frost date. Germinates best in cooler soils, and light aids germination. So I'm gonna make sure I don't cover these. So since I'm not gonna cover them, I'm gonna just go in and pack in a little bit more soil here, since I'm not gonna add more soil later. But I am gonna cover it with vermiculite, which is what I normally do when something needs light to germinate, because light can still get through, but it does help to keep the surface of the soil moist. If you guys have ever grown penstemon, let me know if you have any tips, since I have not done this before and I'm not really sure what I should know in terms of care or anything. Alright, so I'm going in with vermiculite for the areas where I seeded the penstemon. Just to lightly cover and keep those seeds in place. And then for all the other seeds, I can just sprinkle soil lightly on top. I'm gonna mist over everything to settle it in. And then this is gonna get moved into our indoor seed starting station. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me today as I started some seeds and enjoyed some of this beautiful weather. I hope you guys are all doing well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.